Lumix just announced the S9, the first compact full frame camera from Lumix. Now there is a ton of different features in this camera. Even though I've only had it for a few days, I definitely have a person in mind that I think this is gonna be the perfect camera for. We're gonna dive into all types of things in this video, talking about the specs, the different features, the new Lumix Lab app, and a ton more coming up. Now the Lumix S9 is designed as that content creator, street photographer, or everyday carry camera. Now the first thing we're gonna dive into on this camera is gonna be the price. The Lumix S9 for the body only is coming around $14.99, while with a kit lens, the 20-60, it is gonna be coming around $17.99. If you do pre-order, you do get a free lens, which I'll dive into a little bit later in this video. Now, for the physical build, there's gonna be 4 colors. Personally, I and most of the creators in Japan really loved the olive green. It's just this clean, neutral look. Highly recommend this because I feel like olive green is gonna be one of the more popular colors. So if you want this dark green, definitely order sooner rather than later, because I bet once they start shipping, it's gonna be sold out really fast. On top of the camera is gonna be your main dial and your aperture button, a record button, and then the dial to switch between all your different modes. Now, on the back of the entire camera is where these new simplified designs really come in. It has this nice little grip on the back where you can put your thumb and it feels comfortable. They did provide something that I highly recommend getting if you decide to purchase this camera, which is this little small rig piece. You put this on the front of your camera like so, and it provides this little bit of extra grip to hold the camera. Highly recommend picking this up if you do end up purchasing this camera. For the back of this camera, there is a couple new buttons. There's this new button that just literally says LUT. This button is used for real-time LUT, and now you can use real-time LUT with different color picture profiles, which is really cool. So you press this and you can switch between all your different LUTs, and then you are able to record either burned in looks on your photos or burned in looks on your videos. The next button is going to be an autofocus button, your shutter control on the back of the dial, ISO, white balance, autofocus settings, menu button, your photo drive settings, your back button, and then a display button. I will dive an entire another video explaining how I actually customize all these buttons, because they are all now different for the most part on my camera, and I'm going to show you what I personally recommend in a whole separate video on how to set this camera up. And a quick interruption from this review on the S9. If you are interested in seeing more videos on the S9, the S5 IIX, or any other Lumix cameras, I talk all about Lumix cameras and how to use them on this channel. So if you're interested in that, definitely consider subscribing. And anyways, I'll let you get back into the review. On the two sides of this camera, on this side, you open it up, is a micro HDMI and a USB-C. On this side though is just one port, and that port is gonna be your mic port. And finally, on the bottom of the camera, this is where I was even worried when I was watching the presentation in Japan, was the battery, which they still manage, and I'm so glad they keep the exact same battery between the S5 II, the 2X, the G9 Mark II, the GH6. So it's the exact same battery in this camera. And then you have only one SD card slot on the bottom right here. Now, moving on to video specs, they have added a ton of different things and not holding back on people who want to get the most out of this tiny little camera. Meaning you're gonna get pretty high quality footage. It's not gonna be top tier like the S5 II or 2X. That's not trying to replace those cameras whatsoever, but this is gonna be a great camera for content creators. Now, besides that, they still is using phase detect autofocus with all the new improved settings like the S5 II and 2X have. This is gonna be a camera that you can use for content creation, B-roll, BTS. This camera will still be providing that high quality image just like the S5 II and 2X. With that said, there is going to be record limits. That does make it hold it back just a little bit. So you can't really necessarily use it as a B cam, but as a B-roll camera, this camera is amazing. Now, the new features. Lumix has added a ton new features into the new Lumix S9. The first thing that we need to touch apart is real-time LUT and all the new things that they added in this. Now, you aren't gonna have 10 LUTs that you can save. You're gonna have up to 39 LUTs. And I don't know why they didn't just do 40. I feel like they just wanted to be fun and have 39 LUTs. So the second thing they added was being able to apply 2 LUTs to the same thing. So you can now have 2 real-time LUTs on this camera, which is great, especially if you want to convert this log to say an ARRI log and then apply a conversion LUT on top of that. And before we touch apart about the other new features they add, they are also have an intensity wheel for your LUTs, which is a game changer. So no longer are you gonna have to have these LUTs be at 100% all the time. You can change the percentages by 10% for each LUT. Now, the next thing they add was you are able to add a grain effect. Now, you can control this a little bit in the camera, but using the new Lumix Lab app, you're gonna get a lot more control. Now, the new Lumix Lab app is a new app to control your camera in so many different ways. No need for Lightroom, no need for any other editing apps. You transfer your photos from your camera directly to the app, and you can color your photos, you can do whatever you want to it, and then post them all on social media super fast with one system. Now, there's a couple more things that they've added, not just between transferring and being able to edit your photos and add grains or add LUTs to your photos. You're also able to create LUTs with this app. So you can take a photo in a natural color picture profile, take a photo, color it however you want, and create a LUT. Send that LUT to your camera, and now that LUT is gonna be baked in. But it gets a little bit even crazier than that. Say if you had a friend with the Lumix S9 and you had a Lumix S9 and you're like, I just created this sick LUT, and this is what we did in Japan. I was like, dude, does anyone want my LUTs? And someone's like, yeah, I want your LUTs. You airdrop it if you have an iPhone. If not, you have to email it and do whatever that workflow is. You can airdrop your LUTs to your friends. They can save it, go right into their app system, saves, loads, transfer it to the camera. Now your LUTs, just like that, will be on your friend's camera super fast. Now, the next new features, and this one is my most favorite feature in this camera right now, is the hybrid zoom photo. Basically what it's doing is you were able, with a zoom lens like the 20-60, or what I was using most of the time was the 28-200, and it's going to turn your 28-200 to a 28-624 mil lens, and it looks pretty good. When I zoomed all the way in and I was looking at my screen and I took a photo of something, I was like, this is not gonna look good based off what I was seeing. Then when I hit play, saw the photo, I was like, this is amazing. Holy shoot. It was so good. And everyone's favorite feature, but hands down, was that hybrid zoom photo mode. Now, to get a little bit technical here with the nerdy stuff, here are the settings. There's the extra small, which is a 2 megapixel photo quality for your JPEG. Then the second one is small, which is 6 megapixels at a 2x crop. And then lastly is medium, which is 12 megapixels at a 1.4x crop. There is a couple new features for prime lenses, which is crop zoom. So there's a crop zoom photo mode and crop zoom video mode. Now, moving on to the 2 new lenses they have provided. The first one is the 26mm Pancake Lens, and it's an f8. This little lens, this is the new 26mm f8 lens. There is a ton of focus breathing because it is an all manual lens, but this is like a fun little lens just to put on. And again, it's $200, but if you do pre-order the camera when this video is released, they are, I believe, providing this lens for free. So if you want this lens for free, they are providing that. Now, the second lens, which is coming later this year, is the 18-40 f4.5 to 6.3 with autofocus. It's a kind of a TBD on the pricing right now, but that lens will be the perfect lens in combination with this because it's only basically 2 of these lenses, Pancake lenses, put together. So it's going to be about not even half the size of the normal 20-60 kit lens. That lens is going to be the perfect combination with this camera. Then the last thing I do want to touch point on in this video before I talk about some of the quirks and cons with this camera is something that's actually been in all other Lumix cameras, and not a lot of people know about this setting. It's kind of hidden. There's something called raw processing, which is a game-changing feature, especially with this camera. So for example, say you take a photo with a LUT burnt in and you're like, I don't want that LUT. Or say you took it in black and white and you're like, dang, I wish I didn't take that in like a monochrome picture profile setting. But as long as you take your photos in RAW/fine, what this allows you to do is to go into the camera, go into raw processing, click on to whatever photo that has a burned in look, burned in LUT, even if it's in black and white, and you can control and change your settings, change the picture profile, change your white balance, change the exposures, change your LUTs, change the LUT opacity or intensity so you can make it less intense, more intense. You can add grain. This gives you full control of all your photos before you send them to your phone. Make it as a new JPEG, send that JPEG over, and then edit that JPEG on the new Lumix Lab app. This is a feature I'm gonna probably do an entire deep dive into because it's really incredible and it's such a powerful tool on what it's able to do. Now, here is a couple quirks, but before I get into the couple quirks with this camera, it is worth mentioning this is still a pre-production model. So most of it is just going to end up being potential firmware updates and things that we've even talked to some of the Lumix team and they agree on. So here is a couple things. For photos, currently right now, and again, this could easily change with firmware update, when you hit play and you want to go through your photos, on all other Lumix cameras, you just use this scroll wheel on the bottom right here and it scrolls through all your photos. However, because this is set currently to the shutter button, this now zooms in and zooms out, unlike your other cameras, which will use the middle button right here to do this basically, which goes through all your photos. Normally you should be able to do that. I think this is something that a lot of people there had issues with because they're so used to scrolling with this wheel. So I'm pretty positive this is going to be a firmware update, fix this, and that's going to be issues going to be gone. So my next little quirk/con is going to be the record limits. I think I could recommend this camera to more people, especially people who want to do YouTube videos, if it had a 30-minute record limit. Now, the issue is with this is if it does have a 30-minute record limit, the people are going to be like, I can use this as a B cam with my S5 II and 2X. But because of how small this is, there's not really any fans built in to prevent overheating. So if you hit go for record for 30 minutes, stops recording and you just hit record again, your camera's going to overheat within 5 minutes. And that's not what this camera is designed to do, not to be a B cam, but more of a short form content creator camera. So the record limits make sense, but I think I would love to use this camera as a YouTube talking head camera because of how small and compact it is. However, I just can't do that because the record limits are only 10 or 15 minutes long using the 6K open gate or that new 3.8K. Who do I think this camera is for, and who do I think shouldn't buy this camera? I'm gonna start with the people that I think you would love this camera. The first people is gonna be the vloggers or people that are looking for a B-roll or BTS camera, the family camera, a short form content creator. If you want to create shorts, that's gonna be definitely a camera. If you're looking also for a compact camera for street photography, you're looking for a small camera or a cheap Leica camera, this camera has a ton of settings. It's an amazing little compact camera. You can throw it in your bag. It's not going to take tons of space. This is like the perfect everyday carry traveler camera. This is an amazing camera for those type of features. Now, who I don't think it's for is filmmakers. If you are looking for a camera to be a B cam to your S5 IIX, that's not this camera. But in the end, the person I recommend this camera is for is those everyday carries, compact cameras, family cameras, and you want to record 3.8K open gate and transfer high quality videos to your app and be able to edit them on your app. That is the person that I would recommend this camera for. Now, finally, my overall thoughts about the Lumix S9. Lumix, you seem to keep doing this again and again. if I had to go to Japan today and I had to choose between my S5 IIX or the S9, I'm gonna choose the S9. It's just blowing my mind that Lumix has pinned this featured rich camera with all of these amazing settings into the market at a reasonable price point. Yeah, it would have been nice if it was $1,000, but if it was $1,000 and didn't have IBIS, oof. If it was $1,000 and didn't have Vlog or 6K open gate, oof. It has so much in this camera, and it's definitely one of those cameras which I'm like, holy shoot, this is sick. Now, I will do some future videos on this camera in the future, talking about this camera versus the S5 IIX, this camera versus the G9 Mark II, the settings, the menu systems, how to set up this camera, and a ton more in the future. So if you're interested in seeing more videos on the Lumix S9, definitely consider subscribing. But if you're interested in seeing my 1-year review on the S5 IIX, check out that video right here. And then YouTube recommends you might like this video right here. Until the next one, guys, peace.